meeting a month after raising its interest rate by 400 basis points.
On sports news tonight, Nigeria Football Federation confirms coach Finidi George to take charge of Super Eagles' international friendlies against Ghana and Mali.
From Abuja, the nation's capital, the UNDP 2023 Human Development Report shows Nigeria has not done well in all areas of sustainable development goals. Minister of Finance says document is a rallying cry for the nation to do better.
And in international news from London, Hong Kong has passed a tough new security law which authorities say is necessary for stability, but which critics fear will further erode civil liberties.
The nation continues to express outrage over the killing of 17 military personnel in Okwama Delta State on March the 14th. This time, the National Assembly is asking the executive to ensure that those responsible are identified, apprehended, and brought to face the full consequences of their actions through a fair and transparent legal process. The federal lawmakers also want the federal government to immediately compensate the families of the slain soldiers, an act by the President of the Senate. Now, motions on the issue were discussed separately in the Senate and the House of Representatives at Tuesday's plenary sessions. Our National Assembly correspondent, Gloria Umezuke, reports.
The killing of 16 soldiers in Okwama community, Delta State, was uppermost on the agenda for lawmakers who converged on the first plenary for the week.
Troops of 181 amphibious battalion.
After Senate, reactions trailed a motion of urgent importance raised by Senator Abdulaziz Yaradua.
Troops of 181 amphibious battalion, while on a peace mission to Okwama community in Bomadi local government area of Delta State, were surrounded by some community youths and killed on Thursday 14th, 2024. The unfortunate incident occurred when the troops responded to a distress call after the communal crisis between the Okwama and Okoloba communities, both in Delta State.
What happened in Delta was not an accident. It was a designed and well orchestrated. Those who did that deserve to be condemned.
We direct an inquiry, direct the appropriate committees to go into this matter and then give us a full report. Let's know what really happened. This is a very sensitive issue, Mr. President. It is very sensitive, and we must handle it in the manner that it will not escalate.
After an exhaustive debate, the resolutions are adopted.
Urge the federal government to ensure that those responsible for this heinous crime are identified, apprehended, and brought to face the full wrath of the law through a fair and transparent legal process. Those in support of prayer to say aye, those against say nay. The ayes have it. It's a very sad development. I think the Senate awaits the outcome of the investigations. So I urge the committees on defense, committee on army, committee on navy, and the committee on air force combined to liaise with the military to find out, to obtain for first hand for us the outcome of the investigation.
The President of the Senate believes those culpable for the barbaric killings could be from external forces and should be declared terrorists.
We agreed here that we should await the outcome of the investigation by the joint teams of the military, particularly the defense headquarters, on the killing of the soldiers in Okwama. And I said that that at the end of the investigation, that they may even be mercenaries, there may be people that were sponsored who may not even be from Niger Delta, and they could also be from Niger Delta. But whoever they are, the act is not only barbaric, it is horrific and a crime against humanity, and all those involved must be brought to book.
A minute of silence is observed, which is replicated in the House of Representatives. There are more concerns and warnings at the House as lawmakers warn of the risk of a demoralized military.
The House is worried that unless this act is checked and stopped, acts like this by the very people the Nigerian armed forces are meant to protect have a potential of demoralizing the military and affecting the war on insecurity and insurgency, which has so far recorded some huge successes.
Back in the upper chamber, the lawmakers passed a bill for an act to amend the 2023 Supplementary Appropriation Act to extend the implementation year from 31st March 2024 to 30th of June 2024. Given the exigency of the bill, the lawmakers dissolve into a closed-door session, after which the bill skills third reading. From the National Assembly, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, Governor Sheriff Oborewori of Delta State is optimistic that those behind the soldiers' killing will be found. He made this known after meeting with the president in the State House to brief him on the circumstances that led to the incident. The Delta State governor condemned the attack, noting that the state government is working with security agents to ensure peace returns to the community.
Mr. President assured me that the peace, as in support of the peace. And we both condemn the killing of the officers and the soldiers, because they are there on peace mission. And what is happening now is something that we did not bargain for. But we want to assure everybody that there will be no more attack on the villages. If there's anyone that has happened in the past, there will be no attack. But we know that those who are culpable will be brought to book. So some of those issues are security issues that you can't say publicly. That's the truth. And we're managing the situation. So the issue of whether a place has been burned down or people have been killed, it has happened. But the way forward, what is the way forward? The way forward are two ways. The people that have been killed, the officers and soldiers, we must see how we can find succor for this family and all, and giving a befitting burial. And also the community, anything that has happened in the community in the past will not happen again. We assure them, but the people who are culpable will be brought to book.
Staying with the killing of soldiers in Delta, the Minister of Information, Mr. Mohammed Idris, says the government is doing everything within its power to unravel the reason behind the act. Mr. Idris said this at a press conference in Abuja, reiterating the commitment of the federal government to the safety of every citizen of Nigeria.
These are people who the nation has trained. They are also the symbol of our collective existence as a nation. Any attack on our armed forces is an attack on the nation itself. It's unacceptable. The president has made it that clear. Of course, this is not something that any nation will condone. But at the same time, as the commander-in-chief and as someone who is also very passionate about having a peaceful resolution of every situation, he has asked for calm. He has asked that the community cooperate with the armed forces so that we can fish out those who are the perpetrators of this act. And he has also asked and enjoined members of the armed forces to also limit themselves to only those who are involved in this. Of course, all those involved will not go unpunished. But of course, the president has also made it clear that the punishment of those who participated in this crime will not also affect innocent lives. Those who are not involved will surely not be punished. It's unfortunate, but we also need to tread with caution. That is what the president has said.
The minister also used the opportunity to reaffirm the government's resolve to rescue the 287 school children that were kidnapped in Kuriga community and the over 87 kidnapped in Kajuru community, both in Kaduna State.
And let me also reiterate the message of Mr. President. The issue of ransom is not something that the president condones. A government would not accept the payment of ransom in any way, form, or shape. the Nigerian Armed Forces have the capacity to deal with the situation diligently and carefully, so that more lives will not be lost. Nigerians should be rest assured that members of the armed forces are working around the clock to ensure that these children are reunited with their families.
To the courts now. A mild drama ensued at the Federal High Court Abuja today as the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Mr. Nnamdi Kanu, protested his continued detention in the facility of the Department of State Service, the DSS. He's also alleging that the charges brought against him by the federal government is politically motivated, saying that peace will be restored in the southeast in 2 minutes if he is released from DSS custody. Mr. Kanu's outburst followed the denial of his bail application by Justice Binta Inyako. Our judiciary correspondent, Emanuela Ekele, reports.
The leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Mr. Nnamdi Kanu, is back in court for the continuation of his trial over alleged treasonable felony. The trial judge, Justice Binta Inyako, arrives and declines his bail application, which was filed on February 16, 2024. However, the court ordered an accelerated hearing in the matter. Counsel to Kanu, Mr. Aloy Ejimako, subsequently requested that his clients be transferred to Kuje Correctional Center, another facility of the Department of State Services. Mr. Nnamdi Kanu also requested to address the court, a request that was granted. He tells the court that it is unfair that his lawyers are treated poorly by the DSS. He adds that he's suffering from cognitive heart disease as he removed his clothes to show the court the evidence of his ill health. He alleges that the DSS are patching him up so he doesn't die in their custody, pleading with the court to send him to Kuje Correctional Center, or in the alternative, he should be placed under house arrest. However, Justice Nyako turns down his request, stating that suspects have escaped from Kuje Correctional Center. Immediately proceedings ended, Mr. Kanu speaks on some of the issues.
We are here to fight for freedom, for justice, equity, and fairness. That's what we're fighting for. Nothing more, nothing less. And we cannot be cowed by anybody. We are without fear before our enemies. And we speak the truth always. I want all the journalists here arrayed to go and ask government of Nigeria, what happened to treasonable felony? Where are those charges today?
From 2015.
They've just disappeared because they have no evidence against me.
His counsel also speaks on the denial of his bail.
So we are not stalling. It is the federal government that is stalling. We can take notes. So what is the essence of it? We cannot prepare him adequately. We cannot talk with him. We whisper. We put our lips to his ear. We talk sotto voce, and so on and so forth. So this is the essence. This is what happened in court today, where justice was turned upside down when our 2 applications that go to fair hearing were refused. But we are going to bounce back.
I'm calling on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu not to allow the moment to pass him by. That what the president should do is to invoke the powers given to him and the Attorney General in particular under Section 174 1C of the Constitution to discontinue these charges.
The court adjourned the case to April 17 for the commencement of trial. Emanuela Ekele, Channels Television News.
In part 2 after the break, Edo State Deputy Governor Philip Schreiber loses bid to stop the impeachment process against him at the Federal High Court of Abuja. Plus, INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu reiterates his call on political parties to avoid parallel primaries and the emergence of multiple candidates for elections.
Businessman I am today because I scoured the world to find that feeling my clients want to wear. This country makes it its business to inspire at every moment.
Own your moments in South Africa this Easter holiday. Explore new holiday deals at southafrica.net. Come journey with us.
Do you know that you can now print all your essential items for events without even having to leave your home? It's the Cash Print Combo Deal for all events.
Yes!
Weddings, conferences, birthdays, burials, etc. Starting from 495,000 naira only. You get 50 invites, 50 A2 size posters, 50 16-page brochures, 1 large backdrop banner, 1 roll-up banner, 50 jotters with pens, and 50 souvenir carrier bags. Whatever event you're planning, we can adjust to your budget and quantities. Just send your pictures and other information through WhatsApp, and we shall send a design for your approval. Approve your design, and we will produce with super high-quality digital print technology. We can even arrange delivery to your location. Call us now on 0913-156-5016 or 0812-794-9323 or visit our social media pages. Casprints, digital printing at super speed.
As an online entrepreneur, I am an advocate for tax morale, and I urge my fellow entrepreneurs to fulfill their civic duty by filing their returns.
I handle my business with integrity, and my customers trust me. And it is my civic duty to file my returns and pay my tax because I trust the government.
It is my civic responsibility to file my income returns, pay my tax on time to avoid penalties.
You have until 31st March 2024 to fulfill this important civic obligation. Failure to file your individual annual returns attracts stiff penalties on defaulters. For inquiries, visit www.lirs.gov.ng. This message is from the Lagos State Internal Revenue Service, LIRS.
The Federal High Court Abuja denies bail to the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, as he protests his continued detention, saying peace will be restored in the southeast in 2 minutes if released from DSS custody. And Hong Kong has passed a tough security law which authorities say is necessary for stability. The High Court in Abuja has refused to grant an ex-parte motion filed by the Deputy Governor of Edo State, Philip Shaibu, seeking an interim order to stop the impeachment process by the State House of Assembly. In the suit, Mr. Shaibu sought an order of the court restricting the House of Assembly from commencing any process by holding proceedings or setting up any panel of investigation for his removal pending the hearing of a motion on notice. But in the ruling dated March the 13th, but cited today, the trial judge, Justice James Omotosho, declined the Deputy Governor's prayers. Meanwhile, the judge has fixed Wednesday for hearing in another motion, ex parte motion brought by the plaintiff seeking substituted service on the defendants due to his inability to serve them. In Edo State, the House of Assembly has directed the Chief Judge of the state to set up a committee to probe the Deputy Governor, Philip Shaibu, on the allegations leveled against him. Now, the Majority Leader of the House, Charity Aiguahuenya, who moved the motion during Tuesday's plenary, has said 19 out of the 24 members voted in favor of the motion. He explained that the 7-man judicial panel to be constituted has up to 3 months to conclude their investigations. The House had on March the 5th this year signed a petition to impeach the Deputy Governor on the grounds of perjury and disclosure of state government secrets.
Member voted overwhelmingly that the matter be investigated. And meanwhile, Section 188 sub 4 requires a 2/3 majority for the matter to be sent for investigation. But we had 19 members voting. That is about 3 people above the 16 persons required. I also want to put on record that 3 of our members are unavoidably absent as they have official functions in Abuja. So they were unable to partake in these proceedings. So we would have recorded nothing less than 22 today, but 19 is okay. By virtue of the provision of the Constitution, Section 188 sub 6 thereof, this panel of 7 have 3 months maximum to do their reports.
The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, has reiterated his call on political parties to avoid situations that lead to the conduct of parallel primaries and the emergence of multiple candidates. According to him, this situation has led to unnecessary litigations. Professor Yakubu made the call at the first regular quarterly consultative meeting with political parties in Abuja.
This is the first regular quarterly consultative meeting of the Independent National Electoral Commission with the new Leadership Inter-Party Advisory Council. The Commission is meeting with the political parties to assess the success of the last rerun and by-elections, as well as preparation for the off-cycle governorship election in Edo and Ondo states.
Political parties have 20 days to upload the list and personal particulars of their candidates to our dedicated portal. There will be no extension of time beyond the deadline already published in the timetable and schedule of activities for the election. For the Ondo State governorship election, party primaries begin in the next 2 weeks on 6 April 2024 and ends 3 weeks later on 27th April 2024. So far, 16 political parties out of 19 have indicated interest in participating
in the lead-up to the Edo governorship election. Several political parties have had parallel primaries to nominate their candidate. The situation is a concern for INEC.
Frequent changes, as we witnessed recently during the Edo primaries, are not only disruptive but costly. The Commission cannot mobilize, demobilize, and remobilize our officials for the monitoring of party primaries for the convenience of political parties.
This is the first meeting of the new IPAC leadership with INEC, and the chairman is pledging to work with the Commission to ensure a conducive environment for the conduct of successful elections.
IPAC will ensure enforcement of the current code of conduct for political parties, which will be reviewed to accommodate recent developments not captured in the code of conduct. When leaders of political parties and political office holders live up to their expectations, Nigerians will have a breath of fresh air in governance.
IPAC is planning to set up a Constitution and Electoral Act Amendments Committee to review irregularities in recent elections and make proposals to the National Assembly in the ongoing Constitution amendment process.
Staying with political matters, a frontline aspirant under the platform of the APC in the 2024 governorship election in Ondo State, Dr. Jimoh Ibrahim, says he has keyed into the renewed hope agenda of the president in empowering the people. Senator Ibrahim made this known in an interview with Channels Television in Igbotako, Okitipupa local government area of Ondo State, where he met with the party members at the grassroots level. At the premises of the University of Fortune, Igbotako, in Okitipupa local government area of Ondo State, a governorship aspirant, Senator Jimoh Ibrahim, is meeting with the leaders of the APC at the unit level, drawn from 3 out of the 6 local government areas in Ondo South Senatorial District. The unit leaders are from the Akeredolu movement, a political group within the Ondo APC founded by Senator Ibrahim to pursue his governorship ambition. They are here to submit the forms containing the data of members of the group that have been registered in Okitipupa, Ilaje and Akeredolu local government areas. Senator Ibrahim says the forum is part of his efforts in mobilizing members at the grassroots.
The members of APC that are in Akeredolu camp, and that is my camp. So you see all of them have submitted their data, and last week we collected from Owo. So today tomorrow we have another 3 local government coming here. Odigbo, Elelojo Kegbo, Irele will be here. That is South Senatorial District. And that means we collect data from 6 local governments in the South Senatorial District, 157 units. That's grassroots mobilization.
The chairman of Akeredolu movement, Senator Omotayo Alasho-Adura, says the strategy is unprecedented in the history of politics in Ondo State.
What is this movement? Having about 5,000 people
working for you in all the units in the state at the same time is unprecedented. And visiting leaders also, up to 9,000 plus, and trying to make them happy is also unprecedented. So the way he has handled this project, I cannot imagine anybody matching his strategy and all that he has done.
On his part, the immediate past Speaker of the Ondo State House of Assembly insists that Ondo State needs a capable and upright leader like Senator Ibrahim as governor.
It needs someone that is very experienced, knowledgeable, very upright. Ondo State need. That's what we need. That's why God has brought Senator Jim Ibrahim to come and lead us those at this material time. Although things should not sink. We are in the point of no return, at a point that we need very reliable, sensible accountability, and someone believe in the struggle.
The event was also attended by the wife of Senator Ibrahim, Mrs. Modupe Jimo Ibrahim. The immediate past secretary to the Ondo State government, Princess Oladuni Odu, as well as leaders of Ashiyori movement from the 3 local government areas. Let's now head to the nation's capital, where Gloria Mezuke is standing by to give us the very latest from our Abuja studios. Great to see you again, Gloria.
Many thanks, Ayo. Here in the nation's capital, the United Nations Development Programme report for 2023 reveals that Nigeria has not done well in all areas of sustainable development goals. The Human Development Report is a measurement of a country's gross national income per capita, education and life expectancy, among other development indexes. The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, who launched the report today in Abuja, explains that the report should serve as a rallying cry for the nation to aspire to do better. Our correspondent, Benny Ark, reports.
For the last 34 years, the United Nations Development Programme has released the Human Development Report and Index annually, ranking all countries by health, education, and living standards.
Thank you.
This latest report is coming amidst the high cost of living in Nigeria. And while Nigeria's Human Development Index value has moved upward by 22% between 2003 and 2022, human development remains low.
The 2023-2024 HDR shows that the path of human development progress, which shifted downwards in 2020, have remained below the pre-2019 trend, threatening to entrench permanent loss in human development gains. In Nigeria, while the HDI value has moved upwards by 22% between 2003 and 2022, her human development remains low at 0.548, placing the country in the low human development category.
As indeed noted in the recent SDG summit, we have only achieved 15% of the SDG target around the world. Almost in every segment, every indicator has shifted downwards, and this in almost every region of the world.
Just like Mr. Ford, Olawale Edun.
The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, believes the report provides the necessary data to lead the conversation on achieving sustainable development goals.
We agree that when you want to measure how a country is doing, how people are faring, you go beyond GDP per capita to get the richer measure that the HDI, Human Development Index, gives you. It is a veritable tool to allow us to benchmark where we are and to focus on where we need to get to.
Beyond Nigeria, the report encourages global political leaders and development practitioners to keep following up on areas that need support to arrest decline in human progress. Benny Ark, Channels Television News.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria's central bank announces March the 25th and the 26th for its second policy meeting, 1 month after raising interest rate by 400 basis points. That's in business news. Please join us again.
Stay connected to the world with Channels TV Podcast and get all the trending stories. Simply log on to channelstv.com, click on podcast, select the program of your choice, and listen. Our podcast is available on Apple, Google, and Spotify. Tap the expertise you trust. Touch the stories that touch you. Anytime, anywhere.
Welcome back. You're still watching the news at 10, coming to you live on Channels Television. To the National Assembly, where the House of Representatives is asking the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investments to immediately halt the signing and implementation of a trade partnership with the United Kingdom, which allows British-trained lawyers to practice within Nigeria. The House, through a motion by 49 lawmakers, points to recent reports and public outcry over an alleged deal aimed at exploring new opportunities in key sectors, such as the energy, legal, and financial services. In the meantime, the House has passed through second reading a bill to grant leave to persons who have lost their spouse. A joint venture agreement to establish a 20-megawatt solar power plant at the cost of about $25 million in Nigeria has been signed. The Vice President, Senator Kashim Shettima, who chaired the signing of the agreement at the presidential villa, says the project is part of efforts to improve power supply in the country and achieve smooth energy transition. Our State House correspondent, Emperor Simon, reports.
Which are also ready, but when the control...
Nigeria's path towards energy transition from fossil fuels to renewable energy looks good to go. And Vice President Kashim Shettima is here to see that it stays that way, with the signing of a joint venture agreement to establish a 20-megawatt solar plant in the country. The project is to be executed through a partnership between the Nigeria Sovereign Investment Authority and North-South Power, and will be located in Shiro local government area of Niger State.
Company.
The target is to hit 300 megawatts of solar energy in the country in the next 3 years, beginning with this first phase of 20 megawatts to be completed in 9 months.
The federal government of Nigeria remains focused on building a resilient future. Correspondingly, we reaffirm our support for initiatives as well as projects that address Nigeria's energy needs and contribute positively to the nation's climate goals.
Besides improving power supply in the country, Vice President Kashim Shettima says the project will also attract more investors into the country.
The success of this project will catalyze the realization of other hydro-solar projects and serve as a test case for deployment of solar energy onto the national grid. The federal government of Nigeria, under the able leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, remains steadfast in supporting initiatives that drive economic growth, enhance energy security, and protect our environment.
This first phase of the project is expected to cost $250 million.
We're starting off with 20 megawatts. It will cost about $25 million, but the vision is to get to 300 megawatts in the next 3 years.
The National Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Policy has a vision of achieving 30 gigawatts of electricity by 2030, with renewable energy contributing 30% of the energy mix. This agreement is considered a step towards the realization of the goal. Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
That's it from the nation's capital. It's back to you, Ayo, for the rest of the news at 10.
Many thanks, Gloria. In the meantime, Vice President Kashim Shettima says the economy is on the path of recovery and sustained growth. He was speaking at the State House, where cabinet ministers, service chiefs, and some heads of MDAs had joined President Bola Tinubu and other top government officials for the breaking of fast. The Vice President emphasized President Bola Tinubu's well-meaning intention for the country and encouraged everyone present to support the president to transform the country.
Ramadan is a season of forgiveness, it's a season of generosity, which incidentally coincides with the Lent season, which goes to portray the fact that what binds us together exceeds whatever that divides us. This is the time for all of us to rally around our leader, because leadership requires sacrifice. Leadership requires tenacity of purpose. Leadership requires commitment. Honorable Ministers, Service Chiefs, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have crossed the Rubicon and the nation is on a path to sustain growth. Some nations have gone through worse phases in the annals of their history than us. The president means well for the nation. He has a good heart for the nation, and we have a moral imperative to support him in whatever way we can to salvage the ship of the state. He doesn't subscribe to the idea of apportioning blames. The buck stops on his desk, and he has not shied away from facing some of the gargantuan challenges facing us.
Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima. In other stories, some eminent Nigerians have been speaking on the need for a brand new constitution to chart a different path for the nation's development. They converged on the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, Lagos, to honor the late internationally renowned constitutional lawyer, Professor Ben Nwabweze. The colloquium, organized by the Patriots, a group of non-partisan political leaders of thought in Nigeria, provided a platform for them to once again highlight some of the issues with the 1999 Constitution.
It's a roll call of leaders of thought across Nigeria at the National Constitutional Dialogue in honor of constitutional lawyer and leader Ohanaeze Ndigbo worldwide, Professor Ben Nwabweze, at the National Institute of International Affairs, Lagos. The theme, Lawful Procedures for a People's Constitution for Nigeria, is the focus, as eminent citizens, such as the leader of Pan-Yoruba Socio-Cultural Group Afenifere, Pa Ayo Adebanjo, former Secretary General of the Commonwealth, Chief Emeka Anyaoku, past and present governors, agree that the 1999 Constitution has defects that must be looked into. The guest speaker, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mike Ozekome, who describes the late Professor Ben Nwabweze in glowing terms, says the process through which a constitution emerges is more important than the document itself.
The process, the procedure by which a constitution comes into being is not only important, but is actually more important than the contents of the constitution itself. I hope, therefore, that this colloquium will, while reaffirming the essential ingredients of the desired Nigerian people's constitution, will focus on the process of producing such a constitution.
And a former Minister for External Affairs, retired General Ike Nwachukwu, highlights what he terms as the flaws inherent in the 1999 Constitution.
We handed a 1999 Constitution to our people. Today, it is absolutely clear that it's not working for the good of Nigeria. Therefore, I hear you all saying here, set that aside, correct the mistakes, and move our country forward.
The guest lecturer went further to point out past examples that could serve as a guide in bringing about a truly acceptable document.
Nigerians must own their own constitution through a popular referendum of the people like was done to the Midwest Constitution on the 10th of August 1963 when it separated from Western region. Without that, we will just be on a journey to no destination.
The consensus here is that Nigeria needs a document that must emerge from the people.
It is for the National Assembly to set up, to constitute a law, a simple law, where the people will come together and make those amendments for themselves.
When the president buys into it, I think he will call a meeting of the Council of States where the governors are fully represented and former presidents. And from there, instructions will be given to the Attorney General, who would then proceed to perhaps draft a bill for the National Assembly to assent to.
This colloquium, in honor of Professor Nwabweze, who died in late 2023, is to remember an outstanding constitutional lawyer who dedicated the better part of his life contributing to the growth of Nigeria's governance system.
In Anambra State, where Governor Chukwuma Soludo is promising that communities most in need will be prioritized on projects. Governor Soludo made this pledge as he commissioned road projects between Amansi and Ufuma in Urumba local government area in continuation of activities to mark his second year in office.
It's a season of project commissioning in Anambra State as Governor Chukwuma Soludo, his deputy and other officials head out to the 26-kilometer Amansi Indiokwenu Awa Ufoma Road, flagged off in September 2022. For many, it's a critical project considering the terrain of the area and becomes the first in the state to have soil and cement stabilization. The first stop is Ezinato, where the governor's entourage is received with excitement as the people express joy that travel time of hours will be drastically reduced.
In the name of God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit.
Meanwhile, the people of Awa recall the difficulties of the past and how they walked several kilometers to get to Ufoma Junction to get transport to their destination. The governor joins the celebration with a reassurance that Awa is now accessible to the world.
We started from the local government, if you like, where we narrowly lost, because that is where there is the greatest need. Okpoko, the biggest urban slum in the southeast, if not in Nigeria, to regenerate it. There is no Igbo man whose relation doesn't live in Okpoko. The biggest urban slum in the southeast. And now we had yesterday commissioned 12 kilometers of road tied there. We have pipe-borne water running in Okpoko for the first time ever. And we have now a general hospital in Okpoko with street light.
The trip terminates at Ufoma, and the reception of the governor is all appreciation and commendation for the governor.
The road is complete from here all the way to Amansi. Not only is it complete, but fully done. My cement stabilization, my stone base, my asphalt. Mr. Governor, we're very grateful. We are grateful as the local government. We will support you. We know this is only 2 years. Within the next 2 years, we expect a lot more. No room or not.
Governor Soludo announces that his goal is for all-round development of Anambra State, in line with his party's ideology of lifting the downtrodden and the mantra of leave no one behind.
Irrespective of your party affiliation, irrespective of your denomination, irrespective of where you come from, we are executing over 400 kilometers in all the 21 local governments going on simultaneously. Now, Anambra, our priority is lifting the downtrodden, the vulnerable, those who are neglected.
With these ongoing developments in Anambra State's infrastructure landscape, hopes are huge that the new government will continue with the pace to make Anambra achieve its full potential.
Time now for some business news with Melinda Akilami.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
And
Many thanks, Ayotunde. Welcome to Business News. Few weeks after raising its monetary policy rate by the highest level in the history of the Central Bank of Nigeria's Monetary Policy Committee, is set to meet again on the 25th and 26th of this month. This comes amid concerns over the latest inflation report released by the National Bureau of Statistics, which shows headline inflation rates soared from 29.9% in January to a 28 high in 31.7% in February. Now, with this announcement, the CBN MPC has broken the tradition of holding its rate decision meeting bi-monthly as it struggles to bring down inflation with the series in the interest rate hike. British independent energy company Savannah Energy is set to buy out the outstanding 49% stake in an oil field of its partners in southern Nigeria for $61.5 million. In a statement released today, the London-listed company says it has agreed to pay $52 million for a stake in the Creek oil and gas field held by a Chinese firm and $9.5 million for the shares of Jagal Energy. The deal will give complete ownership to Savannah Energy, whose affiliate, Universal Energy Resources Limited, owns 51% stake in the oil field. And talking about oil field, let's check out those prices. They rose to multi-month highs for the second straight session today, amid concerns by traders about Ukraine's recent attacks on Russian oil wells. Global benchmark Brent crude went up by 0.8% to $87.57 a barrel, and that's the highest since November last year, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures for April delivery rose to $83.75 a barrel, also its highest since October last year. Crude oil prices have continued to rise within the last 1 week following attacks on Russian refineries by Ukrainian fighters, which have shut down about 370,000 barrels of oil per day. Is now listed Tier 1 financial institution Zenith Bank PLC has appointed Dr. Adora Umeoji as its new Group Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer designate, the first female CEO since the bank's inception, with effect from June the 1st. In a statement released on the Nigerian Exchange Limited's website, the bank's group board says the appointment follows the expiration of the current GMD, Dr. Ebenezer Onyago, on May the 31st this year. Before her latest appointment, Dr. Umeoji was the Deputy Managing Director of Zenith Bank with nearly 30 years of banking experience. And from there, we head to the domestic stock market, which recorded yet another decline at the close of trading session today. Willie Bong has the rest of the details.
Welcome to the stock market report. It's yet another trading day and the negative trend persists. I bet we have not seen the last of the correction. The NGX benchmark index dipped further today by 0.11%. Not a lot compared to yesterday, and just about 2 billion naira lost in terms of market value. Even though stocks like Guinness, FBN Holdings, and Flour Mills gained today, the loss in MTN Nigeria countered all that. MTN Nigeria again lost 7 naira 50 kobo, and investors are not giving that stock a rest. Meanwhile, penny stocks are still dominating the leaderboard for gainers and losers. You can see right there, that comes leading that trend, negative on that board there. And the activity chart, if you see, kind of portrays the mixed sentiment in the midst of the earnings season. All in all, trading was quite flat. Investors are keeping a watch. They're trading cautiously and awaiting the CBN monetary policy at its meeting next week. And that's the stock market report. I'm Will Ibang signing out.
Many thanks, Will. Let's hope we get some green numbers tomorrow. Now, to
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial star 894 hash now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
And now here's Simon Pusey with other international news in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Hong Kong has passed a tough security law which authorities say is necessary for stability, but which critics fear will further erode civil liberties. Article 23 targets new offences like external interference and insurrection, and penalties include life sentences. It was fast-tracked through its final stage by the city's pro-Beijing parliament in less than 2 weeks. Article 23 expands on a controversial national security law earlier imposed by China. That law already criminalises secession, subversion, terrorism and collusion with foreign forces in Hong Kong. The US Secretary of State Antony Blinken will visit the Middle East this week, aiming to reach a ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas and secure the release of hostages held by the Palestinian militant group. During a visit to the Philippines, Mr. Blinken said his trip to meet senior leaders in Saudi Arabia and Egypt would aim to discuss the right architecture for lasting regional peace, providing more humanitarian aid into Gaza as well as discussing post-war planning for the enclave are among the topics he will discuss with Saudi and Egyptian officials.
It's, of course, to push for an agreement on a ceasefire and the release of hostages. As you know, we're intensely engaged on that every single day, and we're doing everything we can to push that forward and to reach an agreement. We've been doing a lot of work since January, particularly with our Arab partners, and we'll be pursuing those conversations, as well as discussing what is the right architecture for lasting regional peace. There, too, a lot of work has been ongoing in the last weeks and last months. We've also impressed upon Israel the imperative of having a plan for Gaza for when the conflict ends, which we hope will be as soon as possible, consistent with Israel's needs to defend itself and make sure that October 7th can never happen again.
Russia's President Vladimir Putin has hailed the so-called return of Crimea to Russia at a concert marking the 10th anniversary of the illegal annexation of the territory from Ukraine. He said Crimea had returned to its home harbour and that it would move forwards with Russia hand in hand. Mr. Putin was addressing thousands in Moscow's Red Square a day after claiming a landslide election win. The vote has been condemned by Western governments as a sham. Kenya's President William Ruto has signed into law a controversial bill paving the way for the government to continue collecting a housing levy of 1.5% of workers' monthly pay. The levy is intended to pay for the construction of affordable housing for poorer Kenyans, but it's sparked an outcry from the opposition and a large section of the population who feel burdened by a raft of new taxes. The law has been held up in the courts. The struggling Chinese property giant Evergrande and its founder Hui Kaiyan has been accused of inflating revenues by $78 billion in the 2 years before the firm defaulted on its debt. The country's financial markets regulator has fined the company's mainland business, Hegde Real Estate, $583.5 million. Mr. Hui also faces being banned for life from China's financial markets. In January, Evergrande was ordered to liquidate by a Hong Kong court. Japan's central bank has raised the cost of borrowing for the first time in 17 years. The Bank of Japan increased its key interest rate from 0.1% to a range of 0% to 0.1%. It comes as wages have jumped after consumer prices rose. In 2016, the bank cut the rate below zero in an attempt to stimulate the country's stagnating economy. The hike means that there are no longer any countries left with negative interest rates. And according to the country's state media, North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un has overseen firing drills by artillery units involving newly equipped super-large multiple rocket launchers. According to KCNA, Kim guided the drills that were aimed at testing the real war capabilities of 600mm multiple rocket launchers. They came a day after South Korea and Japan reported North Korea's launch of several short-range ballistic missiles into the sea, its first such missile test in about 2 months. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Many thanks indeed, Simon. Sports News now. Team Nigeria has won 3 more gold medals at the ongoing 13th African Games in Accra, Ghana. Record holder Enekwechi Chukwuebuka's throw of 21.06 meters got him a gold medal in the men's shot put final. Now, also on the medal table is Elizabeth Ayana Ocho, who picked Nigeria's first taekwondo gold in the women's 67 kg. Another gold medal came in for Ruth Usoro, who jumped 13.80 meters to win the women's triple jump final. Olayinka Olajide won bronze in the women's 100 meters final, while Isakiri Userusi took silver, clocking 10.23 seconds in the men's 100 meters final. And let's see how the medal table looks like after today's event. Egypt still leads that table with a total of 165 medals. In second place is Team Nigeria, who have 84 medals. South Africa is next, followed by Algeria and Tunisia. Football now. Super Eagles forward Victor Osimhen, Taiwo Awoniyi, and defenders Gabriel Osho and Tyrone Eboue have been ruled out of the international friendlies against Ghana and Mali owing to injuries. The 2023 AFCON silver medalists will take on the Black Stars of Ghana this Friday, while they'll also take on Mali in the same city on March 26th. The Nigeria Football Federation confirmed just a few hours ago that assistant coach Finidi George will be in charge of both matches in Marrakesh. And that's Sports News Tonight. I'm Kelly. It's back to Ayotunde.
Thank you, Kelly. And the main news again. Federal lawmakers today expressed outrage over the killing of military personnel in Okwama community in Delta State last week. They urged the executive to identify, apprehend, and prosecute